Oh my god. I love Valorant. I fell in love with it almost instantly, but there was one small issue. I sucked, like really bad. But I had the luxury of being able to really grind the game after placing in bronze my first act. Soon after, I found myself working 2 jobs without the time to grind like I used to, yet I still really wanted to improve and rank up when I did have the chance to play competitively. I'm making this video to help average players like me get better, since this helped me so much, going from silver to diamond in 2 acts and literally tripling my headshot percentage at the same time. So yeah, I made this with time efficiency in mind, but anybody can and probably should use this, especially if you're bronze, silver, or gold. Keep in mind, when I started playing Valorant, it took me 4 to 5 games to get my very first kill. So if I can make this progress, I have full faith that anybody watching can surpass me. Yes, there is more to Valorant than aim. And no, headshot percentage isn't the sole determining factor of skill, but if you're hitting heads more often, you're winning your gunfights more consistently. And the more consistently you win your gunfights, the longer you'll live in each round. The more you stay alive, the higher chance you have of winning the round, and the game. So no, one-tapping everyone you fight isn't that important, but the faster you can kill your enemies, the better.
Well, no fucking shit!
And before I talk about the routine, I want to say this. Aim in Valorant comes down to a lot of different factors. So there's no magical aim lab routine that will turn you into 10s, because a lot of aim has to do with in-game application. Map knowledge is important for aim so you can maintain proper crosshair placement and pre-aim before peeking angles. Game sense plays a huge role in estimating where the enemy will be playing from and how to approach different situations. But I knew that making a daily routine to follow in an aim trainer wouldn't hurt, so I treated this as the foundation of the routine. 16 scenarios in Kovac that I did every single day. I started off doing each scenario twice a day and upped it recently to 4 for more repetition. These are fairly simple scenarios, a good mix of tracking horizontally, vertically, micro and macro flicks, and more. So you'll learn your weaknesses very quickly with these. I still suck very much at tracking, but I have broken into the top 50 in a handful of flicking scenarios. I'd say generally tracking is less useful in Valorant than flicks, for the sole reason being Valorant doesn't have the super fast-paced movement that a game like Apex has. Most gunfights involve some lateral strafing on a pretty small scale that shouldn't make it too difficult to hit your targets. But let's say you're entering on a site icebox. You keep your crosshair at headshot level expecting someone to be back sight, but they're rafters. These adjustments happen every single game, so even with perfect crosshair placement, flicks play a big role in being able to kill effectively in Valorant. Tracking still has its place in Valorant. Shooting an updrafted jet out of the sky, a double satcheled raise, or simply just maintaining your aim while strafing. Keeping your crosshair on the enemy while you strafe can be super difficult, especially at distances. So even though flicks look super cool, don't neglect your tracking training. With that being said, following any aim trainer routine with a combination of all facets of aiming will be helpful, as long as you stay consistent and take it seriously. I personally prefer Kovac, but in the past I've used AimLab. It's really your choice, but I'll put the code to my training pack on the screen now and in the description. In the time I was doing this, I only took a day or 2 off at most, and was consistently hitting personal records daily. It initially feels a bit tedious, but it got to the point where I wasn't dreading this part of the routine anymore. It was kind of relaxing, and it was rewarding because there was a quantifiable way to track my aim progress. The second part of this routine is where you'll finally get to launch and play Valorant. This is still going to focus on your aim, but with more of an emphasis on in-game application and movement. At the higher ranks, movement plays just as much of a role as aim does. The first exercise involves counter-strafing. Regardless of rank, I think you should learn how to counter-strafe. The earlier you can get into a habit of strafing and counter-strafing in fights, instead of crouching every single fight, the better. A stationary target is a lot easier for your enemy to hit. It helps with fights you take out in the open, especially at long range, as well as peeking from behind a wall while remaining accurate. Keep in mind, I say this while I still have a horrible habit of crouching, so do as I say, not as I do. Head into the range and shoot the practice box, and go to the very back of the range where the broken walls are. You're going to spend 2 to 3 minutes on either side counter-strafing and shooting the bots when you peek from the wall. What I would do is put on a song for each side so that I know that I've done it for the correct amount of time. After this, change your range settings to eliminate 100, head inside the range where the bots spawn, and start continuously counter-strafing and killing bots one by one. Don't stop moving, even if it takes you 3 minutes to kill one bot. When you're done with that, change the range settings to hard or medium bots depending on your skill level, and try moving between killing every bot. Do 5 to 6 rounds of this until you feel kind of warmed up. After the range comes the most important part of this routine that will tie everything together perfectly. 2 to 3 deathmatches a day minimum. And I know a lot of you are cringing right now. Deathmatch is hell for some players. It was for me until I got about halfway in and started appreciating them more. Deathmatches are perfect for learning maps, maintaining good crosshair placement, and coping with high-stress situations. I don't recommend full blasting your audio and shift walking around the map. Your goal isn't to win, it's to practice. This is your time to test your aim. Make it difficult on yourself by being the one to swing. Holding angles is okay, and you can surely do it sometimes to practice, but with a game like Valorant where there's peeker's advantage, try swinging people in these deathmatches. Work on keeping your crosshair at head level, pre-aiming usual spots, and being ready to shoot another person immediately after killing someone. The hectic spawns in deathmatch will help you with high pressure situations in-game. Deathmatches are a great place to practice for a number of reasons. Firstly, it's in-game application that blends together everything you've been practicing. Secondly, you're going to run into much better players that will test and push you to your limits. There are constantly high immortals and radiants in my deathmatch lobbies, which annoyed the hell out of me at first, but I've really come to appreciate the challenge and the practice. Deathmatches can test your mental if you don't keep in mind why you're doing them. You're here to learn from your mistakes and practice. You're not there to win. Pay no mind to the deaths or kills that you get from behind or when spawning in. These don't matter at all. Even if it's a Radiant player and you want to be really excited that you killed them for the first time, it doesn't matter. Instead, take a look at your 1v1 fights where you die. Although it's only deathmatch, there is still a lot of value to take away from this that you can learn from and will make you a better player. At the end of the day, the best way to improve at Valorant is by grinding the game. The more competitive you can play, the better. But for someone like me with a time crunch from working 2 jobs, this supplemented my improvement really well. On top of watching a lot of high-level players, this routine made me feel ready to jump into competitive play when I did have the time and play confidently. Alright, now you know the secret, which isn't much of a secret after all. I hope this helps you as much as it did me, and if you want to know more on how I climbed in rank, please leave a comment below and let me know. But otherwise, get to work, and I'll see you in the hell that we call Valorant.